Hi everyone, welcome to RPA Explorers channel.
I hope all are doing good. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the template from Unattended, which is non-transactional template. So in one of my previous video, I have explained how you can get the new version of Studio in which you have an option to get the templates for both attended and unattended. So now let's go ahead and create our automation. So when you click on create, you have two options. So let's provide the name and click on this. We have two templates. One is non-transactional workflow and the second which is transactional workflow. So if you're using with queue, then go with transactional template. And in today's video, we are going to concentrate on non-transactional template. So I have already created mine, which is test template non-transaction. So let me open this. This is going to be an explanation of how the template was built and how we can make use of this in our automation. Maybe in future video, I'll be creating a separate use case as well using both non-transaction and transactions template. And now open the project folder or the project explorer. So here you can see your project name and the plugin. So they have these two plugins, which is Essential Toolkit and Connect. In case your project needs some additional plugins, you can go ahead and you can add them as well. And in the activities, they have three different folders. First, which is utilities, launch application and exception handling. So under each folder, they have placed all the respective activities. And below you have global object. So I have the basic connector. For now, they have only one connector, which is key value pair connector for handling the exceptions. Below you have the global variable. So they have only one. And it's not that you have to only use this. In case you need more connector or you want to create more variables and plugins, you can add them based on your requirement. So as I mentioned, it is just a template which will be a base for your automation. So in the template, you can add all the necessary activities and the things you wanted to automate. So search with main. You'll click on it to open it. This is how the main activity look, in which they have also added the comment explaining what each activity does along with what we have to do here. So if you take the start component, they have mentioned that this is the ServiceNow Unattended non-transactional workflow, and also it contains some pre-configured activities like we have initialize, process, close apps, and also we have sub activities inside each activities as well. So this is a start component and you have three activities in the main: initialize, process, close up. So for any automation you build, we have to initialize either an application, it could be a desktop application, web-based application. So whatever you do before you start processing it, which comes under in the initialization. So in initialize, we have all those steps. And in the process, so after you initialize an application, if you want to do a data entry or update something on the web application, everything has to do in the process activity. After you process everything, you have to close the apps as well. So they have given the basic structure or framework of it. And in the main, you do have something called try catch, which is used to handle any kind of exception which occur in these three activities. So in the error, in case you have an error, they are terminating the workflow. So if you go to the toolbox, you can see the component which is terminate. So it's basically used to stop the execution or stop the current process. So you have three parameter, which is your message. So basically they are passing the error message from try catch to the terminate component. And if you want to mark the process as error, you have to set it to true. And if you want to capture the screen when there is an exception, you have to click on this and you have to provide your static value. So given the value true, it can automatically capture your screen whenever there is an exception. So they haven't made this option. In case your automation requests, go ahead and make it to true. So you have to double click on it to open the activity. Inside the initialize activity, you have the exception, which is from the key value pair connector. For example, I'll go ahead and add a connector. So just click on key value pair. So they have added this and then added to the folder. And if you see, they both have the same key, which is the key value pair, and they just renamed it to exception. So I'll just remove this. And in order to weave any connector method, just double click on it. You can weave the method in the object explorer. So first they are using the set items, and also I have already created a detailed video on how you can make use of this key value pair connector and all its method in a separate video. Make sure you have some basic understanding on this connector as well. So just using this set items, which is basically used to set some item to your dictionary. And here they are setting an item. Let's open this. So they have this key end workflow of type boolean. So made the value to be false. Stores an exception parameter in a key value pair connector. So initially we are setting the end workflow to false. And then you have something called config. So let me open this set config, and also you can see that this activity contains a component which get the parameter from the RPA hub. So assume that we have a dictionary. So we have a start component and also we have a try catch. So in initialization we do not have try catch, and each activity they have this try catch to capture any occurs. So it is same as what we have seen in the main activity. So here we have try catch, they are capturing the exception and they are terminating it. So here instead of terminating, they are using this set items to set some values to your dictionary. So they have the type. Really you have two types of exceptions, system or application exception. So they have the type, a system exception of type string, and the next is the message, which is your error message, which comes from the try catch component, and the next is workflow name, which is nothing but the set config in workflow to true. So let's click on OK. So in the control out of try catch, you have some process parameter and shared parameter. So it is not that you have to use only these two. So it depends on the process you automate. So if you go to the home page of RPA Hub, you have this shared parameter, and process parameter comes under each bot process. So if you open the details of the bot process, you get something called process parameters. Rather than hard coding it, you can put all the values in RPA Hub using process parameter or shared parameter. So process parameter is something which is dedicated for the given process, but when you take shared parameter, you can use the parameter for multiple process. So they haven't given any keys, so you just have to add your key, which is nothing but your parameter name, and have n number of parameter just by clicking on this. And when it is executing as expected, they are also making the set items to be false, because we don't have an error, we don't want the workflow to be stopped, we want to continue the rest of the execution. So it's like we want to process the successful path. So they are making the end workflow to be false again. When there is an error, they are making it to true, and they are logging what kind of error the bot thrown. So you have to click on this, which is log error, and you have a get items in which they are getting the item which they set in the previous activity. And then they are using the format text. Here they are formatting that an error occurred in the activity, and also they are giving the exception message over here. So along with this log message, you can also have some text file or Excel file in which you can update all the log file that could be sent at the end of your execution. So you can do it in both the ways, and they are not using any external file, rather they are just using this log component in which you can weave all the logs over here. So in the automation logs, you will be able to see all the logs whichever you write using this log component. Okay, so they are adding the exception. And this is about the first activity, which is set config. Next, which is launch applications activity. Let's assume a use case that you have some web application like rpachallenge.com or any application. So you will be getting all the credentials and application path from the set config, and you will be using all the values which you get from the set config in the launch application. So that is the reason you have to set the value which you get from process parameter either to the global variable or list. In that way you can make use of them in this launch application activity. So in the launch application, they have this try catch and they are doing the same stuff here. Assume that we have some error while processing the set config, so which is nothing but when we are getting some process parameter, we had some error, and now the end workflow value is true. So before we launch our application, they are making a decision whether to move to a successful path or to terminate the process. So they have this get items in which they are getting the end workflow along with the exception message. So they have this component which is decision, and then they are passing this boolean value to the input of decision component. If it is true, It means that we have an error when they are terminating the process. So rather than using the terminate component, they have an activity which is called terminate. So let's open this. This is also same as the log error activity, in which we log the error. Rather than using the log component, they are just terminating by providing the exception message. And only if the end workflow which is false. So if everything is executing as expected, the value is false, and if it is false, they are launching the application. So they have given the template in a way that how you can make use of this template when you have to deal with multiple application. So first let's open the launch application 1, and here again they have the try catch and their exception message, and they are logging the error, and they are making the same decision over here whether to terminate or not. So here they are getting the item which is end workflow, and they are making the decision, and here they are not terminating it, they are directly ending it over here. And if it is false, we have to get some applications credentials. For every application, it could be a desktop application or web application, you need the credentials to log in, right? So you have to get the application credentials from RPA hub, and they have a for loop which is to retry in case there is any issue while logging into an application. So they are retrying twice. For example, the bot is logging into an application for the first time and it failed due to some issue in the network. Then it get failed and it will be retried for the first time. Again it get failed due to some issue in either in username or password, and then it retry for the second time. So basically it is retrying to launch the application twice. For every application we have this concept or logic, right? If you are providing wrong password or something wrong with the credentials, it get logged after 3 retries. So it is better to have 2 retry for any kind of application. In that way your application won't get logged. For every looping you should add a logic over here. Either you can have a separate activity or you can add your logic directly in this activity itself, and then make sure you also provide the value for each application launched to be true if the application is launched successfully. And then it makes a decision that if the application is launched successfully or not. They are setting the value that is application launched to be true. If there is an issue, it will be false, so they are making the value to be false. As soon as the application is launched successfully, so it just break the loop, so it come out of the loop. So, and in the output of the for loop, they are again validating if the application is launched successfully or not. So if the application is launched true, we have to continue with the successful path. So they are making the value to be false. In case there is an issue while logging it, they have this variable exception which is tagged to this, which is failed to launch the application. So obviously when there is an error, it will go to the try catch, which is a variable exception. Everything will be logged in the log errors activity. So this is how the framework is designed to make use of launching your application. So this is for launching one application, and in case you have more applications to launch, you can add multiple launch applications activity in the same activity itself. So now let's assume that you have only one application. So they are making a decision if the end workflow is true or not. If it is true, they will be terminating. If it is false, they will proceed and launching the second application. Again they will be doing the same thing. And if you don't have multiple application, so you have to remove these 4. Directly you have to connect this end port to application launch successfully log message. Okay, so this is how multiple applications or single application framework works. Error, they are just logging the error message. What they are doing in the initialization, I think we can stop this video only for initialization. So I'll be making this as part 1. So in part 2 I'll be starting with the process activity. Thank you so much for watching this part 1 till the end.